I'm a documentary filmmaker with a reputation for unearthing the eerie and forgotten. My latest project has taken me to a remote corner of the Scottish Highlands, to a village known as Eldergrove. Once, it was a thriving community, but now it stands as an enigma, abandoned overnight 70 years ago. As I make my way up the narrow, winding path leading to the village, a heavy fog clings to the landscape like a shroud. Eldergrove reveals itself through the mist like a ghostly apparition. The village is swallowed by thick overgrowth, with creeping vines snaking through the cracks of crumbling stone cottages. The houses, once full of life, now stand silent and derelict, their windows like hollow eyes staring blankly into the void. The silence is almost palpable, broken only by the distant, mournful cry of a raven. It's as if time itself has stopped, leaving this place suspended in a perpetual state of abandonment. As I step onto the overgrown cobblestone streets, an unsettling chill creeps down my spine. It feels as though an unseen presence is lurking just beyond my field of vision, observing my every move. The air is thick and damp, and each breath I take seems to draw on the village's oppressive history. I can't shake the feeling that I've just stepped into a place where reality and something darker have merged, and I can't help but wonder what secrets Eldergrove holds. This project is my chance to revive my career, which has stumbled through a series of lackluster films. The village's abrupt abandonment and the legends shrouding it promise a gripping narrative. I'm determined to uncover what happened here, but as I venture further into Eldergrove, the uneasy sensation grows stronger. It's as if the village itself is waiting for me to uncover its secrets, or perhaps to become a part of them. Before diving into my exploration of Eldergrove, I decided to stop by a nearby hamlet to gather some local insights. The reaction I received was anything but welcoming. The villagers, clearly uncomfortable and visibly shaken, seemed to recoil at the mere mention of Eldergrove. Their eyes darted nervously, and their voices dropped to hushed tones. An elderly woman, her face etched with the wear of countless years, approached me with a grave expression. She told me that Eldergrove was cursed, her voice trembling as she recounted tales of shadowy figures that roamed the abandoned streets and a perpetual winter that seemed to cling to the village like a relentless specter. Her warnings were laced with an air of foreboding as she mentioned that no one who ventured into the village had ever returned. Their fates, she implied, had become woven into the village's chilling folklore. I listened to her warnings with a skeptical ear. To me, these stories felt like nothing more than local superstitions, fearful legends crafted to deter outsiders. Determined to uncover the truth and reignite my career, I brushed off her warnings and pressed on towards Eldergrove. That night, as I settled into an old village inn, preparing my equipment for the next day's shoot, the atmosphere in the building felt strangely unsettling. The silence of the village was punctuated by disturbing noises, an irregular, rhythmic thumping that seemed to pulse through the walls and faint, sorrowful whispers that drifted on the edges of my hearing. I dismissed these sounds as the creaking of the aged building combined with the howling wind outside. But deep down, a gnawing sense of unease began to take hold, a nagging feeling that perhaps the old woman's warnings were more than mere superstition. The following day, I ventured deeper into Eldergrove, my curiosity driving me to explore further. As I traversed the deserted streets, I stumbled upon an old manor at the edge of the village. Its once grand facade was now a crumbling shell, overtaken by creeping ivy and the relentless march of time. Drawn by an inexplicable pull, I entered the manor, the floorboards groaning under my weight. In one of the dusty, cobweb-covered rooms, I noticed a rotting rug in the corner. The rug's worn edges hinted at something hidden beneath. With a sense of trepidation, I pulled the rug aside to reveal a trapdoor. My heart raced as I pried it open, revealing a steep, narrow staircase descending into the inky blackness below. Gripping my flashlight tightly, I made my way down the stairs. The underground space was a labyrinth of rooms filled with ancient, dust-covered furniture and strange artifacts that seemed out of place. The walls were adorned with cryptic symbols and faded portraits of the village's former residents, each face frozen in a haunting expression of fear or desperation. The air grew colder with every step I took, and a thick layer of dust settled over everything, making the atmosphere even more oppressive. As I explored further, I stumbled upon a series of old journals scattered across a wooden table. The leather covers were cracked and worn, but the contents were legible. They detailed bizarre rituals performed by the villagers, rituals aimed at communing with otherworldly entities. The entries spoke of efforts to protect Eldergrove from an imminent, malevolent force. As I flipped through the journals, the whispers began. Soft, unintelligible murmurs seemed to emanate from the shadows, growing louder and more insistent. I caught fleeting glimpses of movement out of the corner of my eye, but when I turned to look, there was nothing there. The temperature in the room plummeted sharply, causing my breath to fog up in the freezing air. A paralyzing sense of dread settled over me, making my heart pound in my chest. The deeper I delved into the manor's secrets, the more I felt that I was not alone. Something ancient and malevolent seemed to be stirring, watching my every move with a dark intent. The shadows around me seemed to thicken and pulse with a sinister energy, and the whispers grew louder, as if urging me to leave before it was too late. As dusk settled over Eldergrove, I knew it was time to leave the manor and head back to the surface. However, as I emerged from the darkness of the underground chambers, I quickly realized something was terribly wrong. The village layout had transformed into a disorienting maze. Streets that had previously led me to recognizable landmarks now twisted and turned into unfamiliar paths, as if the village itself were rearranging its bones to trap me. The air grew frigid, each breath visible in the growing cold. The whispers that had been faint murmurs earlier now swelled into a cacophony of anguished cries. The sounds seemed to echo from every corner, their intensity growing with every step I took. Shadows darted across my vision, fleeting and elusive, and an ever-present sense of being watched settled heavily on my shoulders. The feeling of being followed grew stronger with every step, an invisible presence pressing in on me from all sides. Panic set in as I stumbled through the labyrinthine streets, desperately seeking a way out. My flashlight flickered and died, plunging me into near-complete darkness. The once clear path to the manor now seemed to be a beacon, drawing me back with an irresistible force. I was compelled to return to where it all began, as if the manor held the answers I desperately needed. When I reached the manor, the atmosphere had changed drastically. The shadows that had been static and lifeless before now moved with a sinister autonomy. They slithered and writhed against the walls, taking on grotesque forms that seemed almost tangible. The once familiar feeling of dread was now replaced with a palpable, oppressive terror. Inside, I rushed to the journals, desperate for answers. The revelations were even more horrifying than I had anticipated. The villagers had indeed invoked ancient entities to protect Eldergrove from an unnamed threat. But these entities demanded a terrible price, the souls of those who disturbed their domain. The whispers I had been hearing were the voices of these entities, and they were not merely background noise. They were actively searching for me, their insatiable hunger for my presence growing stronger by the minute. The realization hit me like a physical blow. These entities were not bound by the walls of the manor. They had followed me, creeping into every corner of Eldergrove, seeking to complete their dark pact by claiming my soul. The terror became unbearable as the whispers crescendoed into a frenzied chorus, filling my ears with a deafening, maddening noise. The walls seemed to close in on me, and the shadows lunged, reaching for me with an unseen grasp. I was trapped, ensnared by the malevolent forces I had unwittingly awakened. The fear that gripped me was all-consuming, leaving me with only one thought: escape, if escape was even possible. My heart races as I sprint through the ever-shifting streets of Eldergrove. The once familiar paths twist and morph before my eyes, the village seeming to close in around me with each frantic step I take. The cries of the entities have grown deafening, a nightmarish chorus that claws at my sanity, each wail piercing through my very soul. I spot what appears to be an exit, a glimmer of hope in the darkness, but as I approach, it's met by an unseen force, an invisible barrier that prevents my escape. The air is suffocating, heavy with an oppressive weight that makes every breath a struggle. My mind feels like it's being stretched to its breaking point, each second feeling like an eternity of horror. Just as my strength is about to give out, I stumble into a clearing where the fog lifts momentarily, revealing a strange, eerie beauty that contrasts sharply with the terror I've been experiencing. For a fleeting moment, it seems as if the village's curse might be lifting. But as I try to leave, my hope turns to dread. The boundaries of the village have become a nightmarish barrier, an inescapable trap that holds me within its cursed domain. My vision distorts and warps, and I realize with growing horror that escaping the village hasn't freed me. Instead, its malevolent essence has ensnared me, binding me to its eternal grip. Eldergrove remains a haunting relic of its former self, its twisted streets and dark secrets lying in wait for the next unwary soul to stumble into its trap. My story becomes a grim reminder of the village's dark history, a chilling testament to those who ventured too close to its hidden horrors and were ultimately consumed by its ancient curse. The village stands silent and waiting, an ever-present reminder of the sinister forces lurking within its cursed boundaries.